Hey Ally and Steam Deck gamers, today I'm going to have a look at The Last of Us Part 1 on Steam Deck and the ROG Ally. Recently Last of Us Part 1 got verified for the Steam Deck, but we wanted to see just how much better the ROG Ally can play this at the same resolution, and then also what we can actually get out of the Ally in general. You saw a little bit of footage, one of each there on the Steam Deck and Ally. So let's put them side by side and see if you can tell much of a difference here. I will be honest, with the same settings, it does look pretty much the same. It does look exactly the same. Although the Steam Deck has the 800p versus the ROG Ally 720p in this mode. So I did have the ROG Ally in the performance mode, 60Hz, and also the 720 mode. I did find that the colors did seem to be slightly better on the ROG Ally. I'm not sure if this was just a very minor difference on the gamma or whether there is actually something else there, but I did find the Ally was just that little bit smoother. This might be the very minor difference between 800p and 720p. The Steam Deck was capped at 30 frames per second, but does still dip under it occasionally, and it can't really push any higher. Anything higher and it really does have a few problems, whereas the ROG Ally seems to be up in the 40 range much more often. Although this is running the lowest settings, also with AMD FSR2 on quality. Both of these need it to get a more stable over 30. And there you can see with the Steam Deck that it did dip slightly under 30 frames per second there, with the fire and the other effects here of shooting and a bit of fighting. And we do get some spikes in that frame time as well. Overall though, it does pull very well around the 12 to 15 watt mark, as we would expect on the Steam Deck. As we look at the same section on the ROG Ally, you can see that it is constantly got that 15 watt draw. I think the fire effects and lighting effects do look slightly better here, and it was over 30 frames per second. You can see again doing the same type of behavior. We are staying over 30 frames per second. It doesn't really dip down. And as soon as things stabilize a little bit, we are much closer to that 40 frames per second mark. Put them back side by side with a bit of outdoor gameplay. Although I do find the thumbsticks on the Ally to be a little bit oversensitive, it does still look slightly better on the Ally screen in my book, even at 720p. But the Steam Deck is still just a little bit nicer to hold. However, the Ally has a trick up its sleeve. If we put it on the turbo mode, we can actually up this to the 1080p. And still get over 30 frames per second all of the time. In that 25 watt mode, actually we're mostly over 40 frames per second, and if we go into buildings, we even get 50 to 60, even at 1080p. This actually makes a huge difference to the way the game looks, even on these lowest settings on the Ally screen. And if you do have it docked, you'll see a huge update in that graphics, even with the FSR2 still on quality. We'll see if you plug this in, you will get the 30 watt turbo mode, and that makes it even smoother, pushing much closer to the 60 frames per second. Although it doesn't stay right up there all of the time, it will still bounce between 40 and 60, but you stay much closer to that 60 frames per second with the 30 watt turbo mode. And this is where the Ally really comes into its own. And The Last of Us on the Ally really is a fantastic experience. The Steam Deck definitely has had its day, and we hope to see better optimization of games in future, but this one definitely goes to the Ally. Let us know what you think in the comments below. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next one.